Tae-sung pushed open the apartment door with his shoulder, balancing a bag of groceries in one arm and his work tablet in the other. The lights were dim inside, which wasn't unusual. Haerin preferred softer lighting in the evenings. She said the bright human lights hurt her eyes after long days at the university. He kicked off his shoes and walked toward the kitchen. That's when he noticed it again. Haerin's sleeping mat was positioned right next to his bed, not across the room where it usually stayed, not even in her designated corner. Right beside his bed, maybe half a meter away. This was the third night in a row. Tae-sung set the groceries on the counter and stood there, staring at the arrangement through the open bedroom door. His heart rate picked up slightly, not from fear exactly, but from confusion mixed with concern. When he'd signed up for the interspecies roommate program 2 years ago, his sister Jiwoo had been so excited. She believed humans and aliens could learn from each other, could build something better together. Tae-sung had been skeptical but willing to try. Haerin had been a good roommate, quiet, respectful, always paid her share of the rent on time. She studied human culture and biology at Seoul University. Her species, the Valtorians, looked humanoid enough but with distinct differences. Her skin had a slight blue tint, and delicate bioluminescent markings ran along her arms and neck. They glowed softly in the dark, creating beautiful patterns that shifted with her moods. But lately those markings had been dim. Haerin looked tired. No more than tired. She looked drained. The bathroom door opened, and Haerin emerged wrapped in a towel, her wet hair darker than its usual silver shade. She saw Tae-sung standing in the kitchen and froze. "You're home early," she said. Her voice was soft musical in that way Valtorian voices always sounded to human ears. "Normal time, actually," Tae-sung replied. He gestured toward the bedroom. "Haerin, I need to ask you something." Her markings flickered nervously. "Yes, your sleeping mat. It's been next to my bed for 3 nights now. Is everything okay? Is something wrong with your room?" Haerin's eyes widened slightly. Those large, dark eyes that never quite looked human despite the similar shape. It's a cultural thing. From my world. I didn't think you'd mind." "I don't mind," Tae-sung said quickly. "I'm just concerned." "You look exhausted. Are you sleeping well?" "I'm fine." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Just busy with my studies. You know how it is." She disappeared into her room before he could ask anything else. Tae-sung heard the door close softly. He stood there for a moment longer, then started putting away the groceries. Something was definitely wrong. He just didn't know what. Later that night, Tae-sung lay in his bed staring at the ceiling. The glow from Haerin's markings created soft blue patterns on the walls. She was already on her mat, breathing slowly. He'd pretended to be asleep when she'd quietly moved her mat into position an hour ago. He'd watched through barely open eyes as she carefully, almost apologetically, laid out her bedding. Why did she need to be close to him? The question kept circling in his mind. Was this really a cultural thing? Or was something else happening? He thought about calling Dongwoo. His best friend would probably make jokes about alien courtship rituals. But this didn't feel like that. Haerin's behavior seemed more desperate than romantic. There was something urgent in the way she positioned herself nearby, as if she needed to be close for a reason she couldn't explain. Sleep eventually found Tae-sung, but his dreams were restless. The next morning, Haerin was already gone when Tae-sung woke up. Her mat was back in her room. He found a note on the kitchen counter in her careful handwriting. "Early class. Thank you for understanding." Understanding what? He didn't understand anything. At work, Tae-sung couldn't concentrate. He was an engineer for an interspecies technology company, helping design interfaces that multiple alien species could use comfortably. Today he was supposed to be testing a new holographic display, but his mind kept drifting back to Haerin. "You look distracted," Kyungmin said during lunch. She was Tae-sung's colleague, a brilliant programmer who specialized in alien software systems. "Roommate stuff," Tae-sung said, pushing his food around his plate. "The Valtorian girl? Haerin, right?" Kyungmin leaned forward with interest. "What's going on?" Tae-sung explained the situation, keeping his voice low. Kyungmin listened intently, her expression growing more thoughtful as he talked. "That's interesting," she said finally. "I've heard things about Valtorians, about their biology. They have some kind of empathic ability, I think. Something about reading emotions or energy from other beings." "Reading emotions?" Tae-sung frowned. Like mind reading? No, not thoughts. Just feelings, emotional states. Kyungmin pulled out her tablet and started searching. I remember reading something about it when the Valtorians first joined the coalition. Let me see if I can find it. She scrolled through several documents but came up empty. Most of their biological information is restricted. Medical privacy laws, but I know there was something unusual about how they interact with other species. Tae-sung felt a knot forming in his stomach. Do you think she's doing something to me? While I sleep? I don't know, Kyungmin admitted. But if you're worried, you should ask her directly. Communication is important, especially with interspecies relationships. That evening, Tae-sung came home determined to have a real conversation with Hai-rin. But when he walked into the apartment, he found her curled up on the couch, her markings barely glowing at all. She looked worse than ever. Hai-rin. He rushed to her side. Are you sick? Should I call a medical center? She shook her head weakly. No doctors. I'm just tired. I'll be fine. You're not fine. Look at you. Tae-sung knelt beside the couch. Please tell me what's wrong. Let me help. Hai-rin's eyes filled with tears. On Valtorians, tears looked slightly different, more iridescent. You wouldn't understand. It's complicated. Try me. Tae-sung said gently. She opened her mouth as if to speak, then closed it again. Finally, she whispered, I can't, I'm sorry. I should find another place to live. This was a mistake. No, wait. Tae-sung grabbed her hand without thinking. Her skin was cold. You don't have to leave. Just talk to me. But Hai-rin pulled away and retreated to her room. Tae-sung heard the lock click. He sat on the couch, frustrated and worried. His phone buzzed with a message from Jiwoo asking how things were going. He didn't know how to answer. How could he explain that his alien roommate was sleeping beside him for reasons she refused to share, that she looked like she was slowly dying and wouldn't accept help? That night, Tae-sung lay awake, watching the shadows on his ceiling. At midnight, he heard his door creak open. Through barely open eyes, he watched Hai-rin move her mat into position. But this time, she didn't lie down right away. She stood there looking at him with an expression of such profound sadness that it made Tae-sung's chest ache. Then she knelt on her mat and simply watched him, her dim markings pulsing slowly in the darkness. Tae-sung kept his breathing steady, pretending to sleep, but inside his mind raced with questions that had no answers. Whatever was happening, it was getting worse, and somehow he was part of it whether he understood it or not. Tae-sung started keeping notes. It felt strange, almost like spying on his own roommate, but he needed to understand what was happening. He used a simple notebook, the old-fashioned paper kind, and wrote down everything he observed about Hai-rin's behavior. Day 4. Hai-rin's mat beside his bed again. He'd had a terrible day at work, arguing with his supervisor about project deadlines. When he came home stressed and frustrated, Hai-rin had been waiting. She'd made tea, asked how his day went, listened to him complain. That night her markings glowed slightly brighter than the previous nights. Day 5. A good day. Nothing stressful happened. Tae-sung felt relaxed and happy. That night Hai-rin's mat stayed in her room. He heard her moving around restlessly through the walls. Day 6. His sister Jiwoo called with bad news about their mother's health. Nothing serious, but enough to worry him. He'd spent the evening anxious and distracted. Hai-rin appeared at his bedroom door around midnight, mat in hand, those sad eyes asking silent permission. A pattern was emerging, but Tae-sung couldn't make sense of it yet. He thought back to when Hai-rin first moved in 18 months ago. He remembered her arrival clearly. Jiwoo had been there, excited and chattering about the importance of interspecies cooperation. Tae-sung had been nervous, unsure about living with an alien, but Hai-rin had been so polite, so careful not to intrude on his space. I lost my family, she'd told him during their first real conversation. In an accident. A cosmic event destroyed part of my homeworld. I came to Earth to study, to learn about humans. Your species fascinates us. Tae-sung had felt compassion for her then. He understood loss, understood wanting to start over somewhere new. They'd become friends slowly, carefully. She taught him words in her language. He showed her human movies and music. It had been comfortable, until 3 weeks ago when the sleeping beside his bed started. On day 7, Tae-sung decided to do more research. He went to the Public Information Center during his lunch break and searched for everything available about Valtorian biology. There wasn't much. Most alien species kept their biological details private, protected by coalition privacy laws. But he found a few basic facts. Valtorians had a longer lifespan than humans. They needed less food but more water. They were naturally empathic, able to sense emotions in other beings. And there was one line that caught his attention. Valtorians maintain health through complex bioenergetic processes not yet fully understood by human science. Bioenergetic processes. What did that mean? Taesung tried asking Kyungmin again, but she had no new information. These things are always mysterious until they're not, she said. Maybe you should just ask Haerin directly. Be honest, tell her you're worried. He wanted to. But every time he tried, Haerin avoided the conversation. She was gentle about it, always smiling and changing the subject. But she was clearly hiding something. That evening, Taesung stopped by his neighbor's apartment. Sunja was an elderly woman who'd lived in the building for 40 years. She'd seen the neighborhood change from all human to the diverse mix it was now. She was watering her plants when she answered the door. Taesung, what a nice surprise. Come in, come in. Her apartment smelled like ginger tea and old books. Taesung sat on her couch and explained his situation, leaving out some of the more personal details. Sunja listened, nodding occasionally. When I was young, she said finally, my mother had a saying, trust is a bridge built from both sides. You're trying to build from your side, asking questions, showing concern, but Haerin isn't building from hers yet. What should I do? Sometimes people need to know the bridge is safe before they'll step onto it, Sunja said. Maybe she's afraid. Afraid you'll reject her if you know the truth, whatever that truth is. Taesung thanked her and went back to his apartment. Haerin was cooking dinner, something she rarely did. The kitchen smelled amazing, a mix of earth vegetables and Valtorian spices. I made enough for both of us, she said. I hope you're hungry. They ate together in unusual silence. Normally they talked about their days, shared stories, laughed at stupid jokes. But tonight felt heavy, full of unspoken words. After dinner, Haerin prepared tea. It was a Valtorian blend, something from her homeworld. She'd shared it with him a few times before. It tasted like flowers and starlight if starlight had a flavor. Thank you, Taesung said, accepting the cup. For dinner. For the tea. For being a good roommate, Haerin's markings flickered. I haven't been a good roommate lately. I know I've been strange, distant. Is something wrong? Are you in trouble? She looked down at her own cup. It's complicated. And I'm ashamed. Ashamed of what? But she shook her head. I can't explain it properly. The words don't translate right. And you'd think less of me? I wouldn't, Taesung said firmly. Haerin, I consider you a friend. Nothing you tell me will change that. She looked at him then, really looked at him, and her eyes were so full of pain and longing that it made his heart hurt. You're very kind, she whispered. Humans are so kind. That's what makes this so hard. Before he could ask what she meant, she excused herself and went to her room. That night, Taesung couldn't sleep. He lay in bed, frustrated and confused. Around 2 a.m, he heard a sound. Not Haerin moving her mat this time. Just a soft sound like someone trying not to cry. He got up quietly and peeked into the hallway. Haerin's door was slightly open. He could see her sitting on her bed, her markings pulsing erratically. She was holding something, a small device that glowed with alien symbols. She was speaking into it in her own language, her voice broken and desperate. Taesung felt like he was invading her privacy, but he couldn't look away. She sounded so lost, so hopeless. Whatever was happening to her, it was serious. He went back to bed and finally fell asleep around dawn. When he woke up, he felt exhausted, like he'd been running all night in his dreams. Haerin's mat was beside his bed again. He didn't remember hearing her come in. At work, Taesung could barely function. He made mistakes on simple tasks, forgot meetings, stared at his computer screen without seeing anything. Kyungmin pulled him aside during the afternoon. You look terrible. Go home, rest. I can't rest. Something's wrong with Haerin and I don't know how to fix it. Maybe you can't fix it, Kyungmin said gently. Maybe she has to fix it herself. Or maybe she just needs time. But Taesung had a feeling time was running out. Haerin looked worse every day. Her markings were dimmer, her movements slower. She was eating less. She smiled less. Whatever was draining her, it was winning. That night, Taesung came home to find Haerin asleep on the couch. It wasn't even late, barely past sunset. Her markings were almost completely dark. In the dim light, she looked ghostly, fragile. He sat in a chair across from her and watched her sleep. Her breathing was shallow but steady. Occasionally, her markings would pulse just a little, in rhythm with something he couldn't identify. Then he realized what it was. Her markings were pulsing in time with his breathing. When he inhaled, they brightened slightly. When he exhaled, they dimmed. Tae-sung held his breath, testing. The markings stabilized, holding their dim glow. He breathed out slowly, and they flickered lower. He breathed in deeply, and they brightened just a fraction. She was connected to him somehow. Connected to his breathing, maybe to his presence. But why and what did it mean? Haerin stirred and opened her eyes. She saw him watching her and sat up quickly, looking embarrassed and caught. "I'm sorry," she said. "I didn't mean to fall asleep here." "Your markings," Tae-sung said. "They respond to my breathing. Why?" Haerin's face went through several emotions too quickly for him to track. Surprise, fear, resignation. "You noticed," she said flatly. "I noticed." "Haerin, what's happening, please? I need to understand." She stood up, wrapping her arms around herself. "I should leave. Find another place. This isn't fair to you. Stop saying that. I don't want you to leave. I want you to trust me enough to tell me the truth." Haerin turned away from him, facing the window. Outside, Seoul's light sparkled in the evening air. "The truth is complicated and frightening, and you'll hate me for it. Try me," Tae-sung said, using Kyungmin's words from earlier. But before Haerin could answer, the lights went out. All of them. The entire building, the entire street. Emergency sirens started wailing in the distance. "What's happening?" Haerin asked, her voice tight with fear. Tae-sung checked his phone. The screen showed an emergency alert. Severe solar activity. Power grid failure. All citizens shelter in place until further notice. In the darkness, Haerin's markings became the only source of light. But they were so dim they barely illuminated her own face. The darkness was complete except for the faint glow from Haerin's markings. Even the usual city lights that flooded through their windows were gone. Seoul had gone black. Tae-sung's phone buzzed with another alert. Solar flare activity has damaged power infrastructure. Estimated repair time, 12 to 24 hours. Stay indoors. Conserve resources, a whole day. Haerin's voice wavered in the darkness, maybe less. They're usually good about repairs. Tae-sung fumbled for his emergency drawer and pulled out flashlights and candles. He lit 2 candles and placed them on the coffee table. Their warm light mixed with Haerin's blue glow, creating strange shadows on the walls. They sat on the couch together, not quite touching but close enough to feel each other's presence. The silence between them felt thick, full of unasked questions and unspoken truths. "This is it," Tae-sung said finally. "No more avoiding, no more deflecting. Haerin, I need you to tell me what's happening. Right now. Because I'm watching you fade away and I can't keep pretending everything is normal." Haerin's hands trembled in her lap. "You won't understand. Make me understand. Use simple words if you have to. Draw pictures. I don't care. But tell me the truth." She took a shaky breath. "My people, we're not like humans. We don't just eat food and drink water to survive. We need something else, something that doesn't translate well into your language." "What do you need?" "Emotional wavelengths, frequencies, the energy that living beings create when they feel things." She looked at him, her dark eyes reflecting the candlelight. "We absorb it, we have to. Without it, we die." Tae-sung processed this slowly. "You eat emotions?" "Not eat, synchronize, connect. It's like..." She struggled for words. "Imagine if humans needed sunlight to survive, but not regular sunlight. Emotional sunlight, the warmth that comes from being near other feeling creatures. And you get this from me, when you sleep beside me?" She nodded miserably. "Humans produce the strongest emotional frequencies in the known galaxy. Your species feels everything so intensely. Joy, sadness, anger, love. It's like a constant broadcast. Other species feel things too, but nothing like humans. The revelation sat between them like a physical thing." Tae-sung's mind raced. "So when I have a bad day, when I'm stressed or upset, you need to be near me? Your emotions are stronger then. More nourishing." Haerin wrapped her arms tighter around herself. "I'm sorry. I know how this sounds. Like I'm using you. Like you're just food to me. Are you hurting me? Taking something from me? No, it doesn't harm humans at all. You lose nothing. But for my people, it's essential and deeply personal. We don't synchronize with just anyone. It requires trust, proximity, vulnerability. Taesung leaned back against the couch, his mind spinning. That's why you looked so sick. You were trying to stay away from me, trying not to synchronize. I didn't want to use you without your permission. It felt wrong, invasive. Tears rolled down her cheeks, but I couldn't help it. Your emotional frequencies are so strong, so stable. Being near you is like being near a star when you're freezing to death. Before Taesung could respond, his phone rang. Jiwoo's name flashed on the screen. He answered quickly, Taesung. Thank God. Are you okay? His sister's voice was tight with panic. I'm fine. We lost power, but we're safe. What's wrong? I was at the shopping center when the power went out. There was a stampede. People panicking. I got pushed down the stairs. I'm at the hospital now. Taesung's heart dropped into his stomach. How bad? Broken arm. Maybe a concussion. They're doing tests. Her voice cracked. I'm scared. It's so chaotic here. The emergency systems are overwhelmed. I'll come right now. Which hospital? No, don't. The streets are dangerous. Accidents everywhere without traffic lights. Just stay there. I'll be okay. I just needed to hear your voice. They talked for a few more minutes. Jiwoo tried to sound brave, but Taesung could hear the fear underneath. When he hung up, his hands were shaking. His chest felt tight, his mind filled with terrible images of his sister hurt and alone in a crowded hospital. Your sister? Hyrin asked softly. She's hurt. I can't get to her. I can't help her. The frustration and fear came pouring out. She's always supported me, always been there for me, and now when she needs me, I'm stuck here useless. She has doctors. She'll be okay. You don't know that. What if she's worse than she said? What if... Taesung stopped, overwhelmed by the surge of emotions. Worry, guilt, helplessness, fear. They crashed over him like waves. Hyrin made a small sound. Taesung looked at her and saw her markings flickering wildly. Her whole body tensed. What's wrong? Your emotions? They're so strong right now. So intense. She pressed her hands to her chest. I can feel them from here. It's overwhelming. Is that bad? No, yes, I don't know. Hyrin's breathing became rapid. I've been starving myself for weeks. And now you're broadcasting at full strength. It's like being in the desert for months and suddenly standing under a waterfall. She stood up abruptly, swaying. Taesung reached for her, but she stepped back. I need to go to my room. Put distance between us. This is too much. But she only made it a few steps before her legs buckled. Taesung caught her before she hit the floor. Her skin was ice cold. Her markings stuttered and dimmed further. Hyrin. What's happening? Frequency starvation, she gasped. I waited too long. Tried too hard to stay away. Now the synchronization attempt is too sudden, too strong. My body can't process it properly. Taesung lowered her to the couch, his heart pounding. What do I do? How do I help you? You can't. Medical centers are overwhelmed right now. I just have to write it out, but her voice was getting weaker. Her markings were almost completely dark now. No, there has to be something. Taesung grabbed his phone and tried to call emergency services. The line was busy. He tried the non-emergency medical line. Also busy. Every resource was overwhelmed by the power outage crisis. Hyrin's eyes fluttered closed. Her breathing became shallow. In the candlelight, she looked more alien than ever, her blue-tinted skin pale and sickly. Taesung felt panic rising in his chest. His sister was hurt at a hospital. His roommate was dying on his couch. The power was out. He couldn't help anyone. He couldn't fix anything. Stay with me, he said to Hyrin, taking her cold hand. Don't give up, please. She opened her eyes slightly. You're scared, she whispered. For me, for your sister. I can feel it. Even now, barely conscious, I can feel your fear. Of course I'm scared. I don't want you to die. Humans, she breathed. You feel so much. So intensely. Even for someone like me, an alien, a stranger. You're not a stranger. You're my friend. A tear rolled down her cheek. I should have told you sooner. Should have trusted you. But I was ashamed. My people were supposed to be strong. Independent, needing someone else to survive feels weak. It's not weak, Taesung said. Everyone needs something. Everyone depends on someone. Hyrin's eyes closed again. Her hand went limp in his. Taesung watched her chest, terrified that each breath might be her last. Her markings had gone completely dark. In the dim candlelight, she could have been a statue. Hours passed. Taesung sat beside her, holding her hand, talking to her even though she couldn't respond. He told her about his childhood, about Jiwoo, about their parents. He told her about the first time he saw an alien, how amazed he'd been. He told her about his fears and hopes and dreams. He talked because he didn't know what else to do. Because silence felt like giving up. And because some part of him hoped that if she could feel his emotions, maybe his words would reach her too. The candles burned lower. Tae-sung's phone showed midnight, then 1 in the morning, then 2. Still no power. Still no response from Haerin. At 3 in the morning, Jiwoo called again. "I'm okay," she said. "They set my arm. The concussion is mild. I'll be released in the morning." "How are you holding up?" Tae-sung looked at Haerin's still form. "I'm managing," he lied. "I'm glad you're okay." After he hung up, he noticed something. Haerin's markings had a tiny pulse of light. Just one, so faint he almost missed it. "Haerin." He squeezed her hand. Her eyes opened just a crack. Her lips moved, forming words too quiet to hear. Tae-sung leaned closer. "Wavelength," she whispered. "Synchronization. Human. Emotional. Frequency." The words came in fragments, disconnected. But Tae-sung understood she was trying to tell him something important. Something about how her species survived. Something about humans. As dawn began to break, painting the sky in shades of gray, Haerin took a deeper breath. Then another. Her markings flickered once, twice. She was coming back. The morning light crept through the window slowly. Tae-sung had dozed off, sitting on the floor beside the couch, his head resting on the cushion near Haerin's shoulder. When he woke, the first thing he saw was her markings glowing softly again. Not bright, but alive. Her eyes were open, watching him. "You stayed," she said. Her voice was rough, tired, but stronger than it had been hours ago. "Of course I stayed." Tae-sung sat up, his back aching from the awkward position. "How do you feel?" "Like I died and came back." She tried to sit up, but Tae-sung gently pushed her back down. "Rest. The power's still out, but dawn is here. Things will get better soon." Haerin's eyes filled with tears again. "You sat with me all night. Talked to me. I heard some of it even when I couldn't respond. Your voice, your emotions, they were like a rope pulling me back from darkness. I didn't know what else to do. You did exactly what I needed." She reached up and touched his face gently. Her hand was warmer now, not the ice cold it had been. "Thank you." They sat in silence for a moment. Outside, the city was starting to wake up. Emergency vehicles drove past, their sirens muted. People called to each other from windows and balconies, checking on neighbors. "You said something last night," Tae-sung said, "about wavelengths and frequencies. About humans. I need you to explain it to me properly now. All of it. No more hiding." Haerin nodded slowly. She sat up carefully, arranging herself on the couch. Tae-sung moved to sit beside her, close but not touching. "My species," she began, "evolved on a world very different from Earth. Our sun produces a type of radiation that nourishes us, but it's not like your sun. It's emotional radiation. Our whole planet developed life that broadcasts feelings as energy. Plants, animals, even the weather systems. Everything connected through emotional frequencies. That sounds beautiful." It was, until the disaster. Her voice grew heavy. "A cosmic event, something humans call a gamma ray burst. It hit our world 20 years ago. The radiation destroyed our ability to produce our own emotional frequencies. The planet died. Not all at once, but slowly. Like a flower wilting." "I'm sorry," Tae-sung said softly. "Most of my people died too. But some of us survived by learning to synchronize with other species. We joined the Galactic Coalition and scattered across different worlds, different civilizations, each of us searching for compatible emotional frequencies to sustain us." She looked at him then, her dark eyes reflecting the morning light. "Most species in the galaxy feel emotions, but weakly. Like whispers. Their feelings are narrow, specific, controlled. Useful for communication, but not strong enough to sustain a Valtorian. We can survive on them for a while, but eventually we waste away. But humans are different. Humans are extraordinary," Haerin said, and there was wonder in her voice. "Your species feels everything with an intensity that frightens other races. You experience joy so powerful it makes you cry, grief so deep it breaks you, anger that burns like fire, fear that freezes you solid, and yet you survive all of it. You recover, adapt, keep going." Tae-sung thought about his own life, the times he'd been devastated by loss, consumed by anxiety, overwhelmed by happiness. She was right. Humans felt things deeply, sometimes too deeply. Other species can't understand it, Haerin continued. They think humans are unstable, emotionally chaotic. But for Valtorians, your emotional frequencies are like sunlight, pure, strong, life-giving. A single human produces more emotional energy in one day than most species produce in a week. So that's why you came to Earth? To survive? Yes. The Coalition discovered this compatibility 5 years ago. They started a quiet program, pairing Valtorians with human roommates. They didn't tell you the real reason, just called it cultural exchange. Tae-sung felt a flash of anger. They lied to us? They thought humans might refuse if they knew the truth. That you'd feel used. They wanted to protect both species. Heron's markings dimmed slightly with shame. I agreed to the lie. I'm sorry. And the synchronization? That only happens when you sleep near me? It happens any time I'm near you, but it's strongest during sleep. When your conscious mind rests, your emotional frequencies flow more freely. For me to synchronize properly, I need to be close while you sleep. Close enough to match my biological rhythms to yours. Tae-sung remembered all those nights Heron sleeping beside his bed. So you were feeding off my emotions? Not feeding, sharing, you lose nothing. Your emotions remain yours, unchanged. I just borrow the energy they create. Like standing in sunlight doesn't diminish the sun. But you tried to stop. You tried to stay away. Because it felt wrong, Heron said, her voice breaking. You didn't know. You didn't consent. I was taking something from you even if it didn't harm you. It felt like stealing. So you started to die instead. I thought I could manage. Find another way. But there is no other way. Humans are the only species that can sustain us properly. And you, she looked at him with something like awe. Your emotional frequencies are exceptionally strong. The strongest I've ever encountered. Being near you is like being near a star. Tae-sung processed all of this. His roommate was literally surviving off his emotions. Every worry about work, every stress about family, every moment of happiness or fear or anger. She felt it all. And it kept her alive. What happens now? He asked. I find another place to live. Another human to room with. Someone who knows the truth and agrees to help. The Coalition has a list of volunteers who know what they're signing up for. Or, Tae-sung said slowly, you could stay here. Heron stared at him. You can't mean that. After everything I've told you, you need to survive. I can help you survive. And apparently it doesn't hurt me at all. Why would I make you leave? Because it's strange. Invasive because I lied to you for 18 months. You were scared and ashamed. I understand that. Tae-sung took her hand. Heron, last night I sat beside you terrified you would die. That fear was real. This whole time I've been worried about you because I care about you. You're my friend. Friends help each other. But this is different from normal help. This is you sustaining my life just by existing near me. So? Tae-sung shrugged. You said it doesn't hurt me. And honestly, knowing someone's life is better because I'm nearby, that feels good. It feels meaningful. Heron's tears flowed freely now. Why are humans like this? So generous even when you don't have to be. Because we feel things intensely, remember? Tae-sung smiled. Including compassion. Including the need to help others. A laugh bubbled out of Heron mixed with her tears. You're proving my point. Your emotions right now, they're so strong, so pure. I can feel your genuine care, your determination to help. It's incredible. Is that why humans are special? Why we can sustain your people? Partly. But it's more than that. Heron squeezed his hand. Most species in the galaxy evolved to limit their emotions. Too much feeling was dangerous, made them vulnerable. But humans evolved differently. You developed ways to feel everything deeply and still function. You cry and then you wipe your tears and keep going. You grieve and then you heal. You get angry and then you forgive. You're emotionally resilient in a way no other species is. I never thought of it that way. Last night you were terrified for your sister and for me at the same time. Two massive fears happening together. Most species would shut down, unable to process both. But you held both fears, felt them fully, and still took action. You called hospitals, you sat with me, you talked to your sister. You didn't run from the emotions or let them paralyze you. Tae-sung thought about that. It had been horrible, feeling so much fear at once. But she was right. He'd functioned through it. That's what makes humans unique, Heron said softly. You feel everything intensely, but you don't break. And that emotional strength, that resilience, creates the frequencies my people need to survive. It's not just that you feel strongly, it's that you feel strongly and keep going anyway. The power suddenly flickered back on. Lights blazed throughout the apartment, startling them both. The refrigerator hummed to life. The heating system clicked on. Outside, car horns honked and people cheered from their windows. Taesung's phone buzzed with messages. Ji-woo texting that she was being released from the hospital. Dong-woo asking if he was okay. His supervisor saying to take the day off if needed. Life was returning to normal. Haerin stood up slowly, testing her strength. Her markings glowed steady and bright now, healthier than Taesung had seen in weeks. I should clean up, she said. Make breakfast. Start figuring out my next steps. Your next steps are staying here, Taesung said firmly, if you want to. If you think my emotional frequencies are strong enough to keep you healthy. More than strong enough. But Taesung, this means I'll need to sleep near you regularly. It means being close, sharing space in ways that might feel uncomfortable. Then we'll figure out what's comfortable. We'll talk about boundaries, about what works for both of us. Like adults. Like friends. Haerin looked at him for a long moment, then smiled. A real smile. Full of relief and gratitude and something else Taesung couldn't quite name. Thank you, she whispered. You have no idea what this means to me. I think I'm starting to understand, Taesung said. And Haerin? No more secrets. If something's wrong, if you need something, you tell me. Deal? Deal. 2 weeks passed before Taesung fully adjusted to the new normal. Haerin still slept on her mat beside his bed. But now it wasn't a secret. Now they talked about it. She asked permission each night, even though he'd told her she didn't need to. She explained that the synchronization worked best when both parties were willing, when trust existed between them. It's not just physical proximity, she'd explained one evening. It's emotional openness. When you trust me enough to be vulnerable, to sleep near me without fear, the connection is stronger. Ji-woo visited on a sunny Saturday, her arm in a cast covered with colorful signatures from friends. She sat on the couch drinking tea while Haerin prepared lunch in the kitchen. So she's been living off your emotions this whole time? Ji-woo asked, her voice low enough that Haerin couldn't hear. Synchronizing with them, Taesung corrected. She's not taking anything from me. And you're okay with this? Taesung thought about the question. More than okay. It feels good, knowing I'm helping someone survive just by being myself. By feeling things. Ji-woo studied him carefully. You seem different. Calmer, maybe. More centered. Haerin says the synchronization goes both ways, in a sense. She stabilizes my emotional frequencies while drawing from them, like a filter that smooths out the sharp edges without diminishing the feelings. So it's helping you too? I think so. I haven't had a panic attack since we started doing this properly. My stress feels more manageable, not less real, just less overwhelming. Ji-woo smiled. That's beautiful, actually. Both of you helping each other. At work, Taesung started noticing changes in how he approached problems. The stress of deadlines didn't paralyze him anymore. The frustration of setbacks felt temporary rather than crushing. He still felt everything deeply, but he bounced back faster. Kyungmin noticed too. Whatever's going on at home, it's working for you. You seem more confident. Taesung told her the truth. The whole truth this time. Kyungmin listened with fascination. So humans are basically emotional batteries for Valtorians? More like emotional sunlight, Taesung said. And apparently we're the only species in the galaxy that produces the right kind. That's incredible. And a little bit amazing. Humanity's superpower is feeling too much. Kyungmin laughed. We've spent centuries trying to be more logical, more controlled like we thought advanced species should be. Turns out our emotions are what make us special. She wasn't wrong. Taesung had been reading everything he could find about human Valtorian pairings. The coalition had been tracking the program for 5 years. Every pairing had been successful. Every Valtorian showed improved health. And interestingly, every human participant reported feeling more emotionally balanced. One article explained it from a human psychology perspective. Having someone who literally depended on your emotional well-being created a sense of purpose. It validated feelings that humans often tried to suppress or hide. Knowing that your sadness, your joy, your fear, all had value to another being made, those emotions feel less like weaknesses and more like strengths. A month after the truth came out, Taesung's supervisor called him into a meeting. We've been approached by the Galactic Coalition, she said. They want to expand the Valtorian human program. They need companies to participate, to allow Valtorian employees to room with human volunteers from the company. They asked if you'd be willing to talk to other employees about your experience. Taesung agreed. The following week, he gave a presentation to a room full of curious co-workers. He explained the biology, the synchronization process, the benefits to both species. He answered questions honestly. "Does it feel weird?" someone asked. "Having an alien feed off your emotions?" "At first, maybe," Taesung admitted, "but now it feels natural. Like having a plant that grows better in your presence. You're not losing anything. You're just sharing something you produce naturally anyway. What if you want privacy? What if you don't want to share your feelings? We talk about that. Heirin gives me space when I ask for it. The synchronization is stronger when it's willing. Trust makes it work better." Dongwoo signed up that day. So did Kyungmin. Within a week, 12 employees had volunteered for the program. The company arranged for 12 Valtorians to join their staff, each paired with a human roommate. 3 months in, Taesung hosted a gathering at his apartment. 6 human Valtorian pairs came, filling the small space with conversation and laughter. The Valtorians all showed healthy, bright markings. The humans all reported feeling more emotionally stable. "It's like having a purpose built into your existence," Dongwoo said. He'd been paired with a male Valtorian named Taimin who studied engineering. "I wake up knowing that just by living my life, feeling my feelings, I'm keeping someone alive. It's powerful." Kyungmin's roommate, a female Valtorian named Sujin, nodded. "And for us, it's more than survival. You humans have taught us that needing others isn't weakness. That dependence can be mutual, beneficial. Our culture used to see this as shameful. Now we're learning it's just relationship, connection." Heirin sat beside Taesung on the couch, her hand resting comfortably near his. She'd gained weight, looked healthy and vibrant. Her markings pulsed with contentment. "When I first came to Earth," she told the group, "I was terrified. I thought humans would reject us if they knew the truth, that you'd see us as parasites. But humans have this incredible capacity for compassion. You feel empathy so strongly that you want to help, even when helping costs you something." "It doesn't cost us anything, though," Taesung pointed out. "It costs you privacy, vulnerability. You have to be open with your emotions, honest about your feelings. For your species, that's actually very difficult. But you do it anyway because you care more about helping than about protecting yourselves." The gathering lasted until late evening. People shared stories about learning to live with their Valtorian roommates, about cultural differences and surprising similarities, about how the synchronization process had changed both species' understanding of emotions and connection. After everyone left, Heirin and Taesung cleaned up together in comfortable silence. When the apartment was tidy, they sat on the couch with tea. "Thank you," Heirin said quietly, "for everything. For giving me a chance when you could have asked me to leave. For being open to this strange arrangement. For caring enough to make it work." "You don't need to keep thanking me," Taesung said. "This helps me too. You've helped me understand my own emotions better. Taught me that feeling things deeply isn't a flaw." "Your species is extraordinary," Heirin said. "We've studied hundreds of civilizations in the Coalition. None of them have humanity's emotional range and resilience. You feel everything intensely, process it, learn from it, and keep going. You don't shut down your emotions to avoid pain. You walk through the pain and come out stronger." Is that really so unusual? Incredibly unusual. Most species evolved to limit their emotions for survival. Too much fear, too much grief, too much joy, it made them vulnerable to predators or environmental dangers. So they developed narrow emotional ranges. They feel enough to communicate and cooperate, but not enough to be overwhelmed. She set down her tea and turned to face him fully. "But humans evolved differently. You developed emotions as a survival tool. Your fear made you cautious. Your anger made you fight. Your love made you protect each other. Your grief made you remember and honor what you lost. Every emotion served a purpose, so you kept them all. And you learned to survive with them, not despite them. I never thought of it that way. That's why you can sustain my people when no other species can. It's not just that you feel strongly. It's that you feel strongly, and you survive. You thrive. You build civilizations, create art, explore space, all while carrying these massive emotional experiences inside you. You're warriors of feeling. Taesung laughed at that description. Warriors of feeling, that's dramatic, but accurate. Heirin's markings pulsed bright. Right now, you're feeling amusement, affection, contentment, and pride, all at the same time. 4 distinct emotions, all strong, all coexisting without conflict. Most species can only feel one emotion at a time, and weakly. You're broadcasting enough emotional energy to sustain 3 Valtorians, and you're not even trying. That's just normal for us. Exactly. Normal for humans is extraordinary for everyone else. They sat together watching the city lights through the window. Taesung thought about everything that had happened over the past months. The confusion, the fear, the revelation, the acceptance. He thought about how his view of humanity had changed. Humans weren't too emotional. They weren't overly sensitive or unstable. They were exactly what they needed to be. Their capacity to feel deeply, to recover, to keep loving and hoping and striving despite pain and loss. That was their strength. Can I tell you something? Heirin asked softly. Always. When the disaster hit my world, I felt despair so complete I wanted to stop existing. I survived physically but felt dead inside. Coming to Earth, meeting you, learning to synchronize with human emotions, it brought me back to life. Not just physically. You taught me hope again. You humans carry so much hope even when things are terrible. It's infectious. Taesung took her hand. I'm glad you're here. Glad you survived. Glad you trusted me enough to tell me the truth. I was speechless when I realized what humans could do for my